The next one is respect. Not every team is always going to like you. It's important to respect your team members for who they are and the contributions they make to the team. The next one is energy. You can give it or you can take it away. Be a giver and fuel yourself and your team with positive energy. Just a couple left. Motivate. One of the most rewarding parts about being on a team is the opportunity to raise others up and to experience being raised up yourself by others around you. When you motivate your team members and they motivate you, anything seems possible. Teams full of energy who motivate each other become a powerful force. And the last one is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is contagious, just like optimism and belief. When you are enthusiastic, you lift up yourself and your team. Share your enthusiasm today. And I think we can relate to enthusiasm and energy and motivation. And I think we all can think of a team that might come in to compete against us, and you can just see that on the court or on the field, whatever it might be. And to be truthful, it's intimidating when you go up against teams like that. So make sure you're that team. You'll notice that if you take the first letter of each of these words, you might not have noticed it as I just read them, but if you saw it, you would see it. It says we before me. Me is important, but when me contributes to we, everyone gets better. When we comes before me, you become the great teammate and team you are meant to be. At this time, I will turn it over to Assistant Athletic Director, Coach Tomlinson, who is going to introduce our speaker for today.
Right, thank you, Coach. I'm going to let Bryce in. Okay, thank you. I am very excited to introduce Coach Brown. Coach Brown has been coaching for 13 years. She's been coaching track and field for 6 of them as a head coach, and 9 years coaching field hockey, 6 of them as the head coach as well. Her first year is teaching at Deerfield High School is this year, but prior to that, 7 years as an 8th grade teacher. As an athlete, Coach Brown was a top 10 time holder for Deerfield girls track and field, a walk-on track and field athlete at Butler University. When asked about her favorite memory at DHS, she said, "I cannot identify one memorable moment as a Warrior. Every year there is a new memorable moment, whether it was the sport I have coached or not. I've gotten to attend many state track and field meets and be a part of playoffs for field hockey, but I've also gotten to watch girls soccer play in the state championship game, football go all the way to the semifinals, watch cross country qualify for state, and watch multi-sport athletes compete in their other sports as well. Overall, I'm just proud to be a Warrior and support all the student athletes who participate at our school." Coach Brown's coaching resume includes track and field. She qualified at least 1 athlete each year to the state meet. Her best sectional meet is qualifying 1 individual and 2 relays to the 2017 state meet. Having an athlete finish 10th in the 3A state meet for the 300 hurdles. As an assistant coach, she coached a 2-time state qualifier who in college would become a Division III national champion in the pentathlon. In field hockey, her best memory includes finishing 9th in the state in 2016 and the St. Louis Gateway Pool champions 3 times. So it is our pleasure today to introduce to you all Coach Brown, who will be speaking on the topic of maximizing your potential. Coach, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I love seeing some of the faces that I've gotten to see throughout the last few weeks and then some new faces today. So let me share my screen. And I really want to talk a little bit about maximizing our potential. And this is not just athletics. This is kind of throughout your life as a high school student. So, you know, 3 main topics I want to talk a little bit about today. One is control the controllables, and we're going to get into that in a minute. Time management, and you know, those moments of feeling a little overwhelmed. Those happen to everyone, and there's some strategies we can use in those moments, whether it's in a school day or on the field. So a few years back, I got to listen to Sue Enquist speak, and she is, you know, I want to go back to my notes. She holds 11 national softball championships, At UCLA, her head coach career was 887 wins, 175 losses, and 1 tie. Getting to hear her speak to a bunch of teachers, you know, I'll be real with all of you. In meetings, you will sometimes remember things, sometimes you won't. Sue Enquist is someone that will stick in my head forever. And, you know, she made the statement, the controllables. And this really changed my mindset. As a coach, thinking about this with my students, thinking about this with my athletes. So she kind of categorized 2 different things. You know, you have your controllables, which I'll get to in a minute, and then your uncontrollables. So uncontrollables, this is when you might have a test, project, or essay due. Your game or practice schedule. You know, we know that sometimes you might have an early morning practice, you might have a really late practice, you might have a late game, or you might have a game that went into double overtime. You can't know what's going on there. The big one, and spring athletes, I know you understand this a ton, and that's the weather. There is, you know, in the spring and March, we might have a 30-degree day, we might have a 75-degree day. In April, it could be snowing. And, you know, sometimes that gets in our head and we just psych ourselves out. Oh, it's cold, it's raining. Okay, like you can't tell the weather to stop. It's not going to happen. So, you know, that's our group of uncontrollables. Now our list of controllables, the amount of sleep. And I know we've heard this a little bit through the last couple of speakers, but, you know, I am a huge proponent on getting the right amount of sleep because this is not just hurting you as a student and an athlete, but it does have an impact on your team. You know, getting 3-4 hours of sleep and then expecting to be the best you can be during the school day and then a couple hours later on the field in a game, that's really tough, but you can control how much sleep you're getting. Utilizing your time. Are you coming up with some sort of plan every day? You know, when I'm in practice, when I'm after a game, what am I doing after that time? Fueling your body. This is one that, you know, I think is kind of a sticking point with me. You know, are you skipping lunch? Are you just having a snack throughout the day and then thinking, okay, you know, in practice, I'm going to be 100%. You've got to fuel your body, not only with food, but you also have to fuel your body with water. You think that maybe, oh, I've had so much water throughout the day, when really you've had 1 glass. And then down the road, you know, if you're in a game and you are a midfielder and you start to cramp up, well, again, that was part of a controllable. That was something for your body. Did you get enough water? Preparation as a student and as an athlete. You know, these go hand in hand. Are you going through the motions throughout the school day? Are you just like, all right, I'm going to go to class, I'm going to sit and listen? Or am I going to participate? Am I going to join in? Am I going to raise my hand? Same thing as an athlete. Am I just going to go through the motions that coach tells me to? Or am I going to help lead my group? Am I going to, you know, give some feedback to teammates? How am I preparing as both a student and as an athlete? And, you know, I know my field hockey athletes have heard me say this a ton. When it's time to plug in and focus. So when you're in that school day, when you are in that class, I'm going to focus on math class. As an athlete, when I get on the field, you know, I have an hour and a half of practice. I'm going to focus on my practice. I'm not going to think about what I have to do 2 hours from now. I'm not going to think about that test I took earlier in the day. I need to be there and I need to be present with my team, with what I'm doing, with what I need to do, whether it's a game or practice. And then this one, you know, I'm talking about time management, but there's also that time to decompress. You know, it's tough going through a school day and then having to go, you know, home and get all your homework done. You got to take a little time to get yourself to relax, get yourself to calm down, whether this is in between your athletics and your academics, or if this is before you go to bed. And maybe it's a TV break. Maybe it's a little bit of time on your phone. I will share this with all of you. Every night before I go to bed, I play my 5 Lives on Candy Crush. It's my way. It's my favorite game. I'm playing Candy Crush before I go to bed, but that's a way for me to kind of just decompress and then I'm kind of ready to shut things off for the night. But this time to decompress, you also need to think about how long are you doing this for? You know, one TV show might lead into 2, lead into 3. So again, you have to give yourself some time, but you also have to put some limits on that. So, you know, when we look at controllables and uncontrollables, you want to focus your energy on what you can control. Don't put in the energy on the uncontrollables. It's just a waste. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy. Focus on what you can control. And if you look at the list and if you look at how long I talked about them for, there's so much more you can do within your controllables. Okay, so time management. Some of you might love this, some of you might roll your eyes at me, and that's okay. Time management is tough. It is a skill that, you know, adults are still working on. And really maximizing your potential, you need to maximize your time. So, you know, when I'm in season, and even when I was an athlete, and as you heard, I was a walk-on athlete at Butler, I had to come up with some sort of schedule, some sort of to get me ready for, you know, to just kind of get me into a good routine. And you might have a certain routine for practices, and you might have a certain routine. You know, if you have practice that goes until 5:30, okay, when I get home, I'm gonna give myself a half-hour dinner with my family, I'm gonna shower, and then at 6:30, I am going to start my homework. My goal is to be done by 10 o'clock. So get yourself, break it out, chunk a little bit at a time. Don't just go home and be like, oh, I have so much homework to do. How can you break that down? Give yourself a little bit here. Say, all right, my math homework's gonna take 30 minutes. English tonight might only take 15. So break it up into chunks for yourself. Prioritize your assignments. Think about what do you have due tomorrow versus what do you have in 2 days? You know, are you working on an assignment due in 2 days when you have something due first period tomorrow? Really think about how, when you're making that schedule and routine, think about how you want to break things up. Long-term assignments, projects, essays, they can seem overwhelming, they can seem daunting, but if you just chunk it up into little pieces at a time, you're going to not wait till the last minute. You know, if you have an essay due on Friday and you're starting it at Thursday night at 6 p.m., could be a little rough. So think about, if I have a 6-paragraph essay due, day 1, I'm going to complete a paragraph. Day 2, I'm going to do my second paragraph. And keep breaking it up into those little pieces, and you might find that you have some time to go to the ARC to get them to look at it. So if you break out those assignments into smaller pieces, it's going to feel better stress level, and you're going to realize it's much easier a little bit at a time versus a whole chunk. Now, I kind of touched on this already, but technology and social media. I say you need that time to decompress. But if you're on Instagram and you start and then you just keep scrolling, or if you're on TikTok and you just keep going, it could end up going for a while. What I would suggest doing is that you set limits, maybe put a do not disturb. I will say right now, my phone's off to the side, but here it is. It's on do not disturb. I'm not getting any text. I'm not getting distracted because I am here at this presentation going through this with all of you. Put your phone away. It's okay if you do. So really just try and figure out how you can set some limits, set some expectations, get yourself into a good routine. If you can do this during the season, get yourself into some sort of routine schedule for out of season. I know sometimes when I think back as an athlete, you know, I realize I don't have practice anymore. I have all this time. And then I just want to utilize it to the best that I could. So even outside of the season, get yourself into a routine, get yourself into a schedule. You know, some people might write it out to help them keep track. Others might just do it in their head. So whatever works, figure out what works best for you. What might work for me might not work for everyone. So another way to kind of keep track of things, and, you know, do use a paper planner. Do you have a digital assignment tracker? How are you keeping track of your assignments? Some of you might say, I use Schoology, and I'm using Schoology too, and I think it's great. But what about those long-term assignments? Your teachers probably aren't saying you should have paragraph 1 this day. You should have paragraph 2 done by this day. So I want to show you just a couple ways, you know, in our e-learning world, how you can digitally keep track of your assignments. So again, if you are interested in one of these, please feel free to ask me, but you could create one on your own. And if you notice, I've broken it out. I have a place to put my Schoology links. I have a place to write my assignment for every class. And obviously your schedule looks different than this one. So what can you put down? How can you break it out? Let's another example. You know, this one's just focusing on the subjects, and it's your current work, your late work, and what's coming up long term, so you have it on the horizon. Sometimes those things can sneak up behind and you don't realize it. And just another one, it's a different method. This one goes all the way out to the weekend. So you can even, if you are really wanting to break things out, here are ways you can do this. There's different ideas, different suggestions. So again, these are 3 examples that I have seen. It doesn't mean you have to use them. You can come up with one that works for you. All right, so in those moments of feeling overwhelmed, it happens. How can we help just relax and get ourselves centered? You know, there's a couple different ways we can do this. One thing is called a lazy 8 breathing. If you notice, it's an 8 on its side or an infinity sign, depending on how you want to look at it. And, you know, you could draw this on paper. You could do it next to your Chromebook. And really on one side, you inhale, and the other side, you exhale. That breathing, you do that a few times. You could do it without anyone knowing. You could be at your computer doing lazy 8 breathing. And it's kind of getting yourself centered and getting yourself to relax. That calming breathing in those moments of feeling overwhelmed, the moments of saying, oh my gosh, I have a lot on my plate, or oh my gosh, I have this game, or I have to compete against this team. What can you do to relax? Because if you're tense and you're uptight, that's not going to get you up to that full potential. Another thing that I love, and if you have an Apple Watch, use it, that Breathe app. Click on it, go through it. It gets you to do some deep breathing. That deep breathing really gets you centered, really gets you to relax. And again, if you're overwhelmed, if you're nervous, if you're anxious, that's not going to help you get up to that potential, whether it's academically, athletically. How can you get yourselves to relax? And the last one, and I use this a ton as a track coach, is visualization. And this is something you can use for any sport. Close your eyes, think about what you're doing. If it's a game, what do you need to do during that game? If it's, you know, swimming, track, is there a certain race that you're thinking about? You know, in track, one of our tough ones is a 400-meter race. And we break up the parts and we close our eyes and we think about how we're going to approach that. You know, you can also use this same thing in school. If you have a speech coming up, take a moment, close your eyes or keep them open. Think about how are you going to approach this. When you visualize, it gets you to relax. It gets you to calm. And again, that's just that centered feeling. We want to maximize our potential. Having that feeling of being overwhelmed or nervous isn't going to help you, and it just makes you feel worse. So lazy 8 breathing, your Breathe app on an Apple Watch, visualizing before a game, thinking about how am I going to shoot those free throws? How am I going to serve the ball? Anything like that can just kind of get you calm and get you back to not feeling overwhelmed. So, you know, my final thoughts, and I leave this picture because it is one of my favorite pictures that I have ever taken on the turf before. We are in the middle of our return to train, and it had been raining, and that rainbow came out. And this is, for freshmen, if you haven't had a chance to get on, it's great. It's the best place to be. It is a place that calms me, and I love this. But my final thoughts are, control the controllables. Don't focus on the weather. Don't focus about when you have an essay or test or an exam. Focus on what you can control. How am I preparing as a student? How am I preparing as an athlete? What am I doing to fuel my body? Am I getting enough rest? Am I taking a few moments to kind of decompress? You know, and that kind of then goes into plan and get yourself into a routine. What am I doing to make sure I'm able to help control the controllables? Am I able to get the sleep that I need? Am I able to get all my work done? Am I breaking out my assignments? And then the final part is figuring out what helps you get in a good mindset. Again, I've given you some examples. You might find other ways to get you to calm and center in those moments of feeling overwhelmed. So, you know, when we think about maximizing your potential, I'm not just looking at you as an athlete. You are all student athletes. You go to Deerfield High School, you do a phenomenal job, and it's now just kind of taking yourself to that next level. How can I be better as a student? How can I be better as an athlete? Am I giving it my all every day? So yes, so thank you so much. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Coach, I love that picture.
Thank you so much, Coach Brown. That was great. I think we could all use some visualization. As I see the turf, I know in my mind, like for the job we do in the athletic department, we're still staying plenty busy, but to visualize a contest actually taking place again is a good feeling to have. So we all look forward to that time. If anybody has any questions for Coach Brown, you can put them in the chat. Coach Tomlinson also put her email address in there. She provided some great tools and resources to use, especially for time management, which is a challenge, I know for me personally, so I'm sure it is for others too. Coach Tomlinson, you want to preview what's coming up next with webinars next week if we don't have any questions? And then
Absolutely. So let's see, next week, we're excited on Tuesday the 19th. Head boys volleyball coach, Coach Chung, is going to talk about cultivating leadership. And on Thursday of next week, our athletic trainers are going to be talking about general health and wellness, but injury prevention, a little bit of nutrition as well. So we've got some great topics next week. We hope that you continue to tune in. And like Coach said, we've got the videos posted. So if you've got teammates who maybe you didn't see in the participant list here today, check in on them after this. You know, shoot them a text, give them a phone call, and you know, check in on them, make sure that they're doing okay, but also, you know, send them to the website and have them check out some of these awesome webinars. Coach Brown, thank you again for your time and preparation for the awesome message today.
Thank you.
thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.